Okay, so here's my audience. Zoos have always been childhood memories for many generations and a positive aspect of many families' lives. As the years have gone by, negative information has been leaked to the public about zoos and this connotation has changed. For example, SeaWorld has always been entertainment for families all around the world and is considered a great opportunity to see marine animals you may not get to see out in the wild. Unfortunately, how the animals live in the wild is not being considered in captivity. In the wild, the marine animals have a limitless ocean, whereas at SeaWorld they have a small pool and a controlled environment. After learning about how zoos treat animals, I started to think, would I like for someone to pay to see me behind bars? Zoos are holding animals against their will and all zoos should be shut down. Animals are meant to be where they belong, in the wild. There is a definite problem that is facing our country. Zoos are an awful place for an animal to be held in captivity because they do not allow zoos to mate on their own. They prevent animals from doing the things they need to live a normal, natural life, and their diet is severely different from one they would have in the wild. In the first place, animals in the wild can mate on their own and do not need the zoo species survival plan to help this process. Zoos are claiming that the animals they keep are endangered and are being prepared to be released into natural habitats. The zoos are not breeding animals with the exception of restoring threatened populations. The zoos just want money from the people coming through the gates, and baby animals bring in the customers more than anything. Emily Temple from College State EDU states, now, on the flip side, there are some cons to these captive breeding programs. A big problem that arises with captive breeding programs is the sheer numbers of animals in captivity. Most facilities do not have the resources or the space to support a larger breeding program. Also, captive breeding programs have a high cost to support and properly care for each animal, so they consist of few animals that can't sustain a proper breeding population. Another major con to captive breeding programs comes in on the animal behavior side. Even though caretakers try their very best to make captive enclosures as natural and stimulating as possible, they fall short of a wild, natural environment. The idea of captive breeding gives the public a false sense of protection for the species survival. All in all, mating in the wild is a natural thing and the process should not be feathered with by humans. Now that I have discussed why animals mating should not be tampered with by humans, I will explain why animals in captivity cannot do the normal things they need to do in order to live a normal, natural life. The animals in zoos are essentially prevented from doing the things that are natural and important to them, such as choosing a partner, flying, roaming, and being with other animals that are the same kind as them. Zoos do not allow animals to live their life to the full potential. These animals in captivity are being given dishware and other items not found in the wild to play with. Animals can swallow these items and choke and die. Zoos are using abnormal enrichments for the animals. Mark Price from the Charlotte Observer states, keepers at the North Carolina Zoo's giraffe habitat found the beloved 9-year-old female giraffe Jamali unresponsive in her behind-the-scenes living quarters early Tuesday morning. The death was blamed on an accident involving a piece of equipment. We are saddened to report that Jamali died after she accidentally became entangled in a mental and physical engagement item used with our giraffe herd, said a statement from the North Carolina Zoo. All in all, wildlife should not be put in a cage when they are meant to live in the wild. If animals do not receive everything they need in the zoo, how are they beneficial to the species? Now that I have explained how animals in zoos are essentially prevented from doing the things that are natural and important to them, I will discuss how an animal's diet in the wild severely differs from the diet in captivity. It is not possible to feed the animals the same thing they would eat in the wild. The zoos feed animals a replacement meal that is supposed to have all the same properties that would be in the food they eat in the wild. In particular, there have been several studies that show animals are not getting the nutrients they need from zoos in order to survive. Most animals that live in the wild hunt for their food and are not able to do that in the zoo. This takes away from another accustomed part of an animal's life. The New York Times states, the Bronx Zoo buys 1,200 tons of food annually, but cannot stimulate the diet found in the wild. We mimic the nutrients, not the ingredients, they said. Many zoo animals' diets consist of pellets containing the basic requirements of protein, fiber, and carbohydrates. For those animals that prefer fruits, vegetables, or crickets, fresh fruit is given to them as a gift. On the other hand, people may argue that zoos have veterinary care to help the animals live a longer life. The Smithsonian's National Zoo stated, the Department of Wildlife Health Sciences saves species by providing the best clinical veterinary care to the animals in our collection, researching novel diagnostic and therapeutic approaches for wildlife species, providing leadership in conservation medicine, and training future zoo and wildlife veterinarians to continue this work to promote wildlife animal health. This may be true, but it is not good for the animals. Animals in the wild are not meant to live forever, and zoos interfere with the circle of life. Giving animals shots and pills is completely unnatural and should be prohibited. Some zoos put on display to the people they are taking care of their animals. However, in reality, they are receiving poor care. Just because these animals in zoos are fed, given water, and have vet care does not change the fact that they are prisoners in captivity. Making our community more aware of this problem will bring attention to the issue. Informing officials about any concerns you have about your local zoos can help bring this situation into light. Organize strikes and please sign this petition for banning zoos in the United States that I will be passing around after my speech. I plan to do anything in my power to ban zoos from the United States. Now that we have seen how harmful zoos are to animals, let's visualize what the world would be like without zoos. Imagine a world where the animals are living a safe and natural life that isn't being tampered with by humans. Animals would be able to have free roam and use their natural instincts that zoos cannot offer. Zoos cannot begin to replicate the wild in captivity, so why keep them there? For an animal to live their best life, they should be kept in the wild where they belong. If action is not taken soon, I am seriously concerned about what will happen to the animals held in captivity. Zoos are not beneficial to animals and they should be shut down. They take away from the natural life of an animal and are not healthy whatsoever. Animals are meant to be where they belong, like I said, in the wild. I will encourage all of you to boycott zoos and sign the petition I have against them. I will tell you no matter how small your input is to this situation, it will help. Zoos are cruel institutions for the animals that are imprisoned within them, and it should not be tolerated any longer. Animals are people too.